Well, greetings to you. I'd like to revisit something, if I may. It is a piece of poison pill legislation which came from the last government, the Conservative government. If only. And it's causing distress, as I knew it would when it came in, but nobody would bloody well listen. And it's about so-called affordable housing, of course, which is an absurdity in its own right. All houses are affordable if you leave it to the free market. You can either afford something, whether it's a house, a car, or a pint of bitter. It doesn't matter what it is. It's affordable to somebody. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. Now, this is where you should never interfere with market forces, especially politicians who don't know their arse from their elbow. And I'm revisiting what is called social housing, which turns into anti-social housing. And I'll tell you why if you haven't experienced it. And I'm quite sure many of you will have done. I live in a little tiny village, which is well out of the loop, but the closest market town isn't that far away. It's only about 5 miles away. It's an absolutely delightful little Georgian market town, unspoilt. And up until 7 or 8 years ago, zero crime. No immigration of any sort. So this isn't a problem that could be laid on anybody else other than ourselves. And the Conservatives said, OK, well, if you build a housing estate, whether it's one of the big developers, whomsoever it may be, they're going to build 200 houses, for example, which they've done in the local town. As I say, a beautiful little unspoiled Georgian town. So 200, but they've got to give a percentage of these to so-called social housing. Now, the original concept isn't that bad, although I don't believe in interfering with free markets at all, because it never works out quite how you think it's going to. But what they thought was, if it's social housing, it means that if you've got somebody from the community, in the community, who's in a low-paid job, because that's how it is, they might be a student nurse, or they might be something that, an artisan or an apprentice artisan who hasn't yet made his way. So he's not exactly getting a lot of money, and it would be useful to have some houses to keep people in that community who can buy their own house and carry out the jobs that it's important that they do. Very noble ambition. I'm not saying it's not, but as I say, things never work out how they are. So what's actually happened to this beautiful little town? Housing associations buy these so-called cheap houses, and perfectly nice little houses, 2 up, 2 down, or whatever it happens to be, brand new. The housing association buys them. And it might be a Yorkshire, I live in Yorkshire, as everybody knows, a Yorkshire Housing Association of some description. And then they put people in there. Now, the people they put in there are normally troubled people, people with problems, because they can't pay their own way. And if you can't pay your own way in life, you are dependent upon the state. And if you're dependent upon the state, you're dependent upon the state for some reason. Now, these people are coming into some of this accommodation in our little community from cities hundreds of miles away, and they're druggies, they're ex-cons, they're all sorts of flotsam and jetsam of society who are making everybody's life a misery. So you've got a nice family with children struggling to pay their mortgage because they've just paid £300,000 for a nice detached house, living cheek by jowl with druggies and all sorts of riffraff of society. So we've got car vandalism, which we never had before. Never. I've been living here for 40 years. It's never happened before. Vandalism. We have a greengrocer who's taking in his soft fruit and stuff like that from outside his shop at 3 o'clock because some of the kids at the local school will just steal it. We have a beautiful florist shop. Used to have a lovely display outside her shop. It's a really upmarket little florist shop. She now has to bring everything inside the shop because stuff outside is being nicked. You're getting litter. We have a lovely little park. With a little pavilion. It's been burnt down. The council put trees in and shrubs in which were dug up, and they replaced them 2 weeks later. They've been dug up again. We have people living now in our lovely little community who are disgusting, awful, dreadful people, and it's very, very annoying. And of course, and I've said this before, no bobbies on the beat. Despite of the fact that they know on a Saturday or Friday night exactly where the problem's going to be, there's never a bobby. There's never a cop, because cops just react now to crime. They don't prevent crime, because not a single policeman's ever read of the life and ideas of Sir Robert Peel. The idea of cops in uniform was to prevent crime, not react to it and turn up 2 days later. Are you listening, Chief Constable? Are you listening, Humberside Police? And they're all as bad. They're all as bad as each other. They just don't understand the concept of policing at all. Anyway, what we need to do is rescind the silly law that you've got to have at least 5 or 10% of so-called social housing when a new estate goes up, because it's just making a misery of everybody's life. And I learnt this when I was in office and places in Grimsby. Council estates, one family from hell can destroy street after street with their vandalism, their drugs and their antisocial behaviour. The biggest problem that we have with antisocial behaviour, and all uni parties talk about doing something about it, is they need to stop what they are creating. They are creating antisocial behaviour by actually paying out in dole and social security people who don't work all day, who can make mischief at night. And if you are not careful, I'm afraid, politicians and policemen, you sooner or later are going to get vigilantes who will take the law into their own hands, which is always a bad thing, and I'm not recommending it. But sooner or later, people will take responsibility for the protection of their own homes and families. We've got to face up to some of these problems and stop wringing our hands and saying, what can you do? So grip it. That's every political party. Listen in. As most of you know, my work is very heavily independently research based, and I get my information from all over the world. It would help if you press the subscribe button and the little bell next to it, because the more subscribers I have, the more likely it is that international independent research institutes will share their material with me. It's most helpful, and then of course I automatically share it with you. So surprise, won't cost you anything. Thank you very much.